Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Remember that old Billy Joel song, She's Always a Filipina to Me? Well, today we're going to talk about qualities of Filipinas. Those of us who have married a Filipina likely heard beforehand that Filipinas make great wives, and there are many positive qualities that lead to that comment. Women of other nationalities can have the same qualities, good or bad, as a Filipina, but I will talk about the qualities that attract a man to a Filipina. I have been married to a Filipina since May of 2015, and we got married in the Philippines, and I've been so pleased with this that I have started this channel called Love Beyond the Sea. I try to talk about many aspects of a foreigner-Filipino relationship, especially marriage. Now, I will link a couple of links in the description box that I use to help arrange my thoughts on this topic of qualities of Filipinas, and there's so many of them, I'm really going to have to go fast. I will start with observations I have had that don't appear in the ones from those two links. As always, I'd like to hear from you, so questions and comments are encouraged. Feel free to comment on what you like best about a Filipina. I will start with feminine. I will start with the obvious that is common with many foreign men. The Filipinas are very attractive. It is not the most important thing, but the first thing you notice. I interchanged feminine for attractive because to me, they are the same. My wife is short with light brown skin, sometimes long, silky black hair. I just like to look at her and admire her physical beauty. Sometimes she will notice me looking at her and say, "What?" I just answer her with, "Just looking at your beauty." Honestly, I just like to look at her eyes. She is beautiful to me. There are other things I find feminine about Filipinas. Not having tattoos, to me, is feminine because when I was growing up, only men had tattoos. The ones that wear simple clothes that don't attract attention to themselves is attractive to me. Not relying on makeup is attractive to me. Not having a dirty mouth is feminine to me. Smiling and laughing is attractive as well. Practical. My wife is content with the basic necessities and doesn't expect a fairy tale. She wants to know if we need certain things because she is practical. When it comes to furniture, she doesn't have to have the top line ones. Rather than buy something, she will try to manufacture it herself. She's very resourceful, and I would think that would be true of many Filipinas and much appreciated by their husbands. A Filipina would want to save money and not be extravagant. Loyal. I have no statistics here, but wouldn't be surprised if a Filipina is more likely than not to stick with her husband, who is good to her and helping her and her family in a way that she appreciates. My guess is she would not be looking to move up in any way, but would be loyal. Another quality, loves children. I don't think my Filipino wife is alone in loving children. Filipina might come from a large household that includes siblings and nieces, nephews, and likely wants to have a baby herself. I don't get that impression about women in America anymore. I probably like children more now since being married to my wife. This quality, bright. My wife is a bright woman. She seems to learn quickly. One of her friends told me she was bright, and I would have to agree. Doesn't think too far ahead. My wife is like this, and that helps balance me out. As the husband, I want to concern myself with her present and future as far out as I can, and that includes after my death. My wife, she tends to focus on one day at a time. Are there any clashes over this? We don't have arguments about this, but there are times I remind my wife that I am responsible for her now and later, and that is just something I have to do. If your Filipina grew up relatively poor, then she likely sees her future as the next day, not the next 10 or 20 or 40 years. Here are about 50 more from one of the articles I will link in the description box. I will have 2 total, and if I don't agree with any of these, I will tell you why. Finds joy in serving. Most Filipino girls, they say in this article, especially those whose families still observe and practice Filipino values and traditions, have been raised by their mothers to embrace and accept servitude as part of their calling in life as women. It begins with their basic household chores such as cooking, doing the laundry, cleaning, and even babysitting their younger siblings. It is believed by traditional Filipino families that women who have not mastered these household chores, cooking being the most important of all, have no business getting married. Values education highly. They say the typical Filipino family views education as one's ticket to a better and more stable future, so parents raise their children with this value deeply etched in their core being. Now, my dream Filipina has a college degree, although that wasn't on my list of must-haves. She likes to continue to learn things. Family oriented, they list here. The Filipinos most likely have gotten this from the Chinese and Spanish, who both greatly influenced our culture. This was written by the author, who was a Filipino, so his opinion can be respected. They also noted speaks better English than most other non-English speaking women around the world. They mention puts a huge importance on grooming and hygiene. No disagreement from me, and some of this is rubbed off on me. In our bathroom and bedroom, she has all kinds of lotions for her skin, her face, grooming tools, soaps, conditioners, shampoo, combs, hair accessories, the works. I try not to crawl in bed at night without taking a shower and cleaning up. And she has no qualms about combing my hair for me, even in public, and rolling up my sleeves. They also mention charming, and I think my Filipino wife is charming, sweet. She is a Filipina. Respectful to her elders, thrifty, no doubt about that. The other day, my wife showed me a phone holder she had made out of a small bird feeder that she bought. I used to pile books up, then put my phone on top, but now I can just use her invention and carry it around and have it any level I want. She will decide on a certain sale price for something like a watch or a purse and keep an eye on the price and only buy it when it drops down to a certain cost. She even uses plastic containers that had beans or salad or potato salad in it, rewash them and reuse them. That keeps us from buying Tupperware to put it in. When we are going to dispose of something and replace it with a new one, she will consider if she can take it with us the next time we go to the Philippines in order to give to her family. They mention ambitious, and my wife certainly is. Hopefully you'll be able to tell if the Filipina you are thinking about marrying has shown ambition already in her life. Hardworking, and I agree with hardworking. No question about that one. Multi-talented, they say. My wife is the handyman around our place, and I'm sure she learned a lot from her father. With my situation growing up, I wasn't taught to fix things. I'm not good at it. So it is wonderful to have a wife who can do things like that. When something isn't working and I suggest we call someone to repair it, my wife always insists that she try to fix it first. My biggest concern with being a homeowner was having to fix things, and remarkably, God gave me this little woman who wants to do those things. They mentioned capable of multitasking. So far, again, I am in agreement with this Filipino author. Resourceful, I have a video on that. Feisty. He says, oh yes, a Filipina can be soft-spoken and humble, but don't underestimate her. Behind the angelic charm is a true fighter. Yes, the true Filipina seldom starts a fight, but doesn't back out from one either if challenged or threatened. I might have to disagree a little bit about doesn't back out from a fight either, because myself and others have had to sometimes patiently help our Filipino wives to stick up for themselves, to not allow themselves to be taken advantage of. However, that may be because our Filipinas have immigrated, to another country, so it may be possible that a Filipina is a little bit more confrontational back home in the Philippines. They mentioned intuitive, and I haven't really thought about that one, but in general, women are believed to be more intuitive than men. Highly sociable. The Filipina, they say, is extremely friendly and approachable by nature. Creative, highly opinionated, they mention. Argumentative, a loyal friend. This is true for all Filipinas, whether she has many friends or she just has one or two. I have told my wife that we need to always support each other to others, even in private. But if even in private we don't agree on something, that we need to show in public that we are unified. I believe my wife is loyal to me, and she's my best friend. One of her friends said that my wife would give a friend anything she had if they needed it, and I believe it. They also listed here overprotective. This can be good, but misguided, this quality can be very destructive. to your relationship. My wife hasn't been overprotective that I have noticed. For a while after we were married, she'd look at my phone and messages to see who had contacted me, and I don't fault her for that. You know, when you're married and haven't been married very long, you just have to earn each other's trust. Adventurous. This probably depends on the woman. If they are, it could be because they felt they didn't have much of an opportunity in the Philippines to experience going to different places. Due to the responsibility to take care of other people, they might have more opportunity to do this after immigrating. They list outgoing. Here again, I think it may be a case of if she is surrounded by family and friends and she's outgoing, she might still be this way right after immigrating, but she also might be a little shy initially. Many of these things might describe your love beyond the sea, and I have even more passionate. Passionate. They mention religious. And whatever the religion is, it is extremely important that you get to know and understand what her and her family's beliefs are, because her religion or faith is one thing that most Filipinos will never be willing to compromise on. So better if you agree on your religious beliefs to begin with, to avoid future conflict and also to avoid confusing your children. Affectionate, absolutely. Romantic, I'm in big agreement here. My wife loves love stories and fairy tales, listens to love songs, watches romantic shows. Every time I've been in the Philippines, it strikes me how love and romanticism is part of so many commercials and movies, and I like that. It seemed corny at first, but it seems like it's part of the culture and a good thing. They listed emotional. Filipinos are a sucker for love stories, happy endings, love songs, anything that can make you cry. Now, I am more emotional than my wife. She often says, "You're such an emotional man." That is how God gave me, but I must be careful with the negative emotions. They list here overreacts at times and say this also has something to do with how she was raised. I would like to know more about that because I'm not really sure what that means. I overreact sometimes, and my wife has overreacted. I think that happens a lot when you're angry or irritated or just feel misunderstood. They list ultra sensitive at times and say that Filipinos in general wear their hearts on their sleeves, and this could be tempered when outside of the Philippines. They mention possessive, kind of related to overprotective, and in this case, possessive, I kind of look at this as a good thing. They mention generous, and I absolutely agree. They say the Filipino will give and give until it hurts. You likely know by now how important it is for a Filipina to support her family, even if it seems like she is surrendering too much. When we were in Chicago, we were both surprised at the number of homeless people sitting on the sidewalks around our hotel area. There were times my wife would give them a little money to help them out. Makes me proud of her. Conservative. Again, this depends on how she was brought up and what traditional values were instilled in her. To me, this is the type of woman that makes the best wife. Traditional probably ties into being conservative. I think a foreign man would understand this as wanting to cook, keep a clean house, raise children, be loyal to her husband. They mention competitive. I'm not sure what the author meant here because my wife is not competitive. She despises how people can't just go to work, do their job without constantly looking over their shoulder to see who wants their job. And I assume she was like this before we got married. They list avoids confrontation most of the time. And I agree, especially when it comes to a public situation. She is more likely to want to discuss it at home in private, which is much appreciated and mature. They say that Filipina tends to worry so much about the future. Now, I am confused by this comment, although I'm not going to contradict the author, who is from the Philippines, I think. They would know better than I would. My impression before marrying my wife was she was concerning herself pretty much with one day at a time. This, I reason, was due to the nature of having to live that way. Even after I married her and we were waiting out the visa stage, she would tell me that I don't need to send her any money because she had enough for the day. I had to plead with her to let me send her money for more than just one day because I was her husband, you know. Persistent is one that they mentioned, And I would agree. Sentimental. What else did they list here? Authoritative. They say if the Filipina girl grew up in a home where her mother wore the pants, she will most likely have the tendency to adopt the same behavior and mentality. If the man she ends up marrying turns out to be lacking in initiative, intellectual, moral, and financial capabilities, they say she will take control. The Filipina girl is competitive by nature and is a born leader, so this authoritative quality is just an accident waiting for a place to happen. Very interesting comments. I honestly don't know what the situation my wife grew up in, but I do understand the elder daughter often is the breadwinner and as such is looked up to. However, mom and papa still probably make the final decisions. Also, I'm glad this point was brought up by the author because I don't think it gets much attention, and a potential foreign husband needs to be aware of. He will have to be on his toes with how he handles or delegates responsibility in his marriage if his wife is used to making many decisions before she married him. They also listed here that Filipina puts a great emphasis on gratitude. They mentioned the crab mentality, so I will list this one here. They said this is one of the ugly Filipino attributes, which is rooted in jealousy and envy. They say this simply means that she can't stand seeing somebody else reaping all the good things in life, so she finds ways to destroy that person. Amongst women, gossiping and spreading malicious rumors are the most common ways to accomplish this. They say if your Filipina girl had been raised right, then the only thing you'll need to worry about is other people attacking her and trying to bring her down just because she's dating a white man like you, which to some means a shining, shimmering ticket to the land of milk and honey. This is a good thing to know. They mention camaraderie here. As they say, misguided, this can also be destructive to your relationship, since the tendency here is for your Filipina girl to cover up her friend's flaws or wrongdoings and vice versa to prove how much the friendship means to either of them. And I have not experienced that. They talk about the habit or quality of being a procrastinator. So that's just what they said. They mentioned tardiness. They say your Filipina girl, unless she was raised by her parents differently, will always be late to meetings, dates, and appointments. The things she will blame her tardiness on will vary, but no matter what you do, even if you move your appointment an hour later, she will still be late. They say this is a nationwide character flaw, which is made even worse by those who do not even bother to inform you ahead of time that they're going to be late. With my wife being an American now, she fully understands that she has to be on time. So to me, this one really doesn't resonate. You know, at work, that is watched very closely, and we have appointments for everything here, maybe not as much in the Philippines. Like if she needs her car serviced, she needs an appointment for that. My wife doesn't seem to mind that at all. They also mentioned flirtatious, historical, and what they mean by that is having a tendency to dig up past issues in order to stress a point in an argument. And I really haven't seen this either. They listed tends to be obsessed with impressing other people, and this has something to do with the pressing need for acceptance. Now, I haven't really noticed that either. I mean, if your wife is here, she's going to have her own money. She's going to want to buy things that she likes, name brands, things she's attractive to. Remember, she'll be frugal. And if you go on a trip and she's showing lots of photographs, you know, of a special place like when we went to Paris, that doesn't mean she's obsessed about trying to impress anyone. That just means she's glad to be there, maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity, and just wants to share those moments with people back home. They mention tolerant and say this is often confused with patience. Though patience is another common Filipino attribute, they say tolerance is a more outstanding quality. It says the Filipina has an exceptional ability to tolerate lying, cheating, and oftentimes verbally, physically abusive partners, so much so that no matter how much or how often the couple splits up, they manage to get back together time and time again. It blows the mind. So again, that's his impression, and I agree about the patience, but you know, I don't, I haven't seen again this quality that he listed there. They mention thoughtful, as in the Filipina will remember birthdays, anniversaries, and other special occasions you can possibly mark on your calendar, and will always go out of her way to get you a gift, no matter how small. It's the thought that counts. It's one of the Filipino girl's favorite mottos in life, and she really makes it count. Now, last Black Friday, my wife bought me a nice camera tripod. I had forgotten that I even told her I wanted one, but she must have been waiting for a good price and found one. I think my wife is being thoughtful when she brings Filipino food for people at work to try, and when she brings back little souvenirs from the Philippines to give to people. So that's a long list. I hope you were able to appreciate that list of qualities. There are just so many good qualities about my love beyond the sea.